Today's Daf Chav Ches, and we're starting from Chav Zayin Amud Beis by the Mishnah. We are Be'ez Hashem going to finish the Masechta. Today is a very exciting day. I have a couple announcements to make a little bit later. Says the Mishnah, Miviin mehegdish kizba se'ira. A person set aside money for his korban. Chazayin Amud Beis by the Mishnah. A person set aside money for his sheep, but he didn't buy the sheep, and then he decides he wants to switch it over to a goat. It's not a problem. Just because he thought in his head that he's going to buy a goat doesn't mean he can't buy a sheep. Which one is better, a sheep or a goat? Which one is more valuable? Which one has better meat?
Goat. Goat's more valuable. Sheep has better meat.
Sheep has better meat?
It has more better, but goat has more meat on it.
It's a bigger animal.
I see you don't remember what you learned 7.5 years ago. It says in the Mishnah, there's no difference. Okay, that's next Mishnah. We'll get there.
The quality of the meat.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Which is better?
It's the quality of the meat.
Go to the story afterwards, you're right.
Yeah.
Goat is delectable.
Why?
Delicious.
They say the kids in school are not allowed to learn ahead and come to school. It doesn't work like
Very
that.
good meat.
Menachem, you didn't hear what I said. My son's Rebbe told me he's not allowed to learn the stuff before and then come into class, and he knows better than everybody else. Zok the Mishnah. Umehegdish kizbo seira. Now here's a big chidush maybe. I designated money for my sheep, and then I became poor, and I'm talking about an oil of a yored. I went to the Beis Hamikdash, betuma, or whatever it was. I'm a woman, and I have to bring oil of whatever it is. Mehegdish kizbo seira. I could go from my sheep and goat to Torah Rubinei Yoyin. I could go downwards. In other words, lechatchila, I could be mechalel the money. I set aside for a sheep 1,000 shekel. I can now say it's no longer 1,000 shekel for hegdish. All I need is $20 for my birds, and the rest goes out l'chulin. Big chiddush, the rest goes out l'chulin. I set aside $1,000 for my sheep. Dollars. Then I became poor. So now all I have to bring is a bird. And a bird only costs $5.50. So I save myself $995 or for whatever it is. And that money becomes chulin. Chulin. Rabbi said, I put it in my pocket, I could go buy ice cream with it. Umehegdish, and I could go even down, even more. I could go from a designation of birds to flour. Keitzad, hifrish lekizbo. Now the Mishnah explains. Hifrish lekizbo lisira. I set it aside for my goat, henny, and then I became poor. Yavi oif. I could buy with it a bird. The big chiddush is what the Mishnah doesn't mention is that it becomes chulin the rest of the money. Henny yavi asir seifa. I became even more poorer. I'm really destitute. Then I could bring asir seifa. Hifrish asir seifa. And what happens in the reverse? He was really, really poor, so he set aside some flour for a mincha. Hesher, he won the lottery. Yavi oif, he could add to it, he could buy a bird. Hesher, and he became even wealthier. Kizba, usi'ira. Each thing is a chiddush, the Gemara is going to say. Now, there's a little piece of the Mishnah here that we have to go down to the Hagoyz V'tziyunim. The Gemara actually brings it, but we could just read it here. He has to, but the question is, can he use his money? Could he use the original money? Of course he has to buy a bird, and of course he has to buy a sheep. Can he use the original flour money to buy a sheep? Says the Hagoyz V'tziyunim, Ois Chav. Hifrish kizboy se'ira v'nistavu. They became a balmum. Imratza yavi b'dmeim oif. Then he could be paided and bring with its money a bird. Hifrish oif, and if he actually designated not money, but a bird, here's a big chiddush. V'nistayv, and it became a balmum. Lo yavi b'dama v'asir seifa. Shein la'oif pidyon. There's a big chiddush in a bird. There's no pidyon in a bird. We're going to see this mefurish in the Gemara, but this is part of the Mishnah, so it's kedai to say it in the Mishnah. Especially for those who are makbet to say every single word. This is like every word in the open up Kereisos, it's there, this piece.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Minani Mili. Thank you. Minani Mili.
Is this money hectic?
No, because we're going to say it anyways. What? And it's not in here.
We don't
Is this
skip
money
any words in
hektish?
this shit.
No,
We
yeah.
can do every
Beginning of the
word.
Mishnah.
Yeah.
Is this money hectic or not?
It has Kedusha. But I could get it, I could take it off. Is this on? It doesn't look like it's facing me. Okay, fine. Don't.
Oh, you did it on purpose.
He did it on purpose for whatever reason. Binani Mili says the Gemara Torah Rabbanon Mechatosei Mechatosei Al Chatosei. Now, it says in the pasuk, in the psukim, it says the word Mechatosei. It's beautiful how this works, because it says by Behemas Asher it says Mechatosei, and Oif Ani it says Mechatosei, and all of a sudden when it comes to flour it says Al Chatosei. What's the nafkamina? If you just look at the words, Mechatosei means from, Al Chatosei means on top of. So Al Chatosei is telling me I could add Al Chatosei. By Asir Seifa you could add whatever you want. Mechatosei means I could take from it. If I designated $1,000 for my carbon, I could use part of it. It's so meduik in the words. It's beautiful. Zog the Gemara Menani Mili Torah Rabbanon Mechatosei Mechatosei Al Chatosei. By Asir Seifa it says Al Chatosei. Matam Eloimar Minayin Ato Omer Shemivi Mehegdish Kizba Seira. We're just going to be repeating here the words of the Mishnah. How do I know I could go from a goat and a sheep? And I could go back from one to the other. How do I know if I designated a goat, I could buy a sheep? And if I designated a sheep, I could buy a goat. And how do I know if I designated a goat, I could go to a bird? And I could go all the way from a bird to... I was just looking at a picture from a year and a half ago, and you were sitting right over there. It says, Mamish, it's
Coming full circle.
it's full circle. So it took a year and a half, but you're back to that spot. And if he designated a goat and he became really poor, Yavi Oif. Hani Yavi Asir Seifa, he became even poorer, he brings a Asir Seifa, a little bit of flour. Hevesh La Asir Seifa Vehesher. What about the reverse? Mamish repeating the Mishnah. He designated flour and then he became rich. He became wealthy. Yavi Oif, you have to buy a bird. Hesher Yavi Kizbay Sira, so you could buy with that money, you could use it to buy the next to upgrade. Hivrish Kizbay Sira V'Nistavo. Here. Oh, here's what's missing in our Mishnah. If there's a mum, then Motzi Oif. Hivrish Oif V'Nistavo. Over here, could I read quickly? Because it's Mamish word for word. Okay, fine, I'll go slow. Hivrish Oif V'Nistavo Yavi B'Dom Asir Seifa. But if you set aside a bird and it has a mum, you're not allowed to, since a bird, and a bird cannot be redeemed, you cannot use that money to buy your Asir Seifa. Therefore the Torah says the word Chatosei 3 times. Here, now the Gemara is going to say each one.
Okay.
It says it over here by the most expensive one, and it says it in the middle one. If he becomes poor, it makes sense. I could go from a goat to a bird because they both have blood. Avasir Seifa, it's a completely different type of carbon. It's a mincha, it's flour. Delav mini domininu. If a person designated a bird and it becomes poor, loy maisa asir seifa.
Why?
No, because the lav mini damimu. The only problem here is, this is very interesting, I just want to point out a beautiful question. It says that if a person set aside a bird and he became poor, he cannot, I would think, he cannot bring flour.
So you can't redeem
The lav mini damimu.
Instead of this,
Right.
they'll bring from outside.
But the question is, why doesn't he bring this? He has this. He has birds in front of him. He set them aside. And now he became poor.
He has to sell them.
So why can't he just give those birds as
He
is?
needs them.
He's desperate to
He
eat.
has no food in his house.
Who says he
But it's
has
already-
birds? Who says he has birds?
It says.
No.
Yeah, look. We're talking about a case that he has birds.
Mafish ma'ois lakina,
Right.
Rinani.
And what's he
The
supposed to
money
do?
is sought.
So what?
So now
Okay.
he takes
He has the
it
money.
out. Buys flour.
And
And what-
what? To designate for Asir Seifa anymore.
Correct. So what are you supposed to do with that money?
this is?
Goes to Chulin, I don't know.
Goes to Nadava.
Nedava.
Why?
You say you can't
Buy
do it.
birds, and you don't have to buy a Sir Seifa. He has the money already. It's already designated for his birds.
But it's money to Nedava. It was set aside
No.
for Chatas.
It was set aside for birds.
Right. For
He
Chatas.
became really poor,
And
and
now he
now
doesn't bring that anymore.
he not. Why can't he bring it? You could always upgrade. A poor person could bring a behema.
Machloikis, no?
Oh, we're gonna see his machlokes, but
The money from himself.
he can't. It's
He
in the
can't.
dava. No
That's
side, it goes to the dava.
So it doesn't go to Chulin?
Anyways, a few
get the money
tirutzim.
out the chulin.
One person says one shot was that lechatchila you shouldn't upgrade.
So it's not.
That was one shot. Was big chiddush.
If the money goes to the Chulin,
It doesn't go to chulin. It only goes to chulin if, in the case that he uses it for his thing, so the rest goes out of chulin. Over here, the Gemara said the havamina. In the havamina, maybe you should just put everything in the dava and buy an asir seifa. Why? Why can't you already have the money? Why waste
Case,
it?
He put the money aside.
Yeah,
So
all
he
these
put
cases.
the money aside, so why are we even talking? Like, if you put the money aside, the money's there. Let him just buy the animal he originally wanted to do. Even if he lost money, it's not.
That is the question. That is the question.
Here, as from the beginning, the first step.
No,
When
this
he
is-
when he buys, going to buy the animal. Let him buy the animal.
No, the Mishnah says you could. You could. You actually could. The Gemara now is saying perhaps you can't. What is the havamina that you can't? Just use the money. It's only on the havamina this question. On the actual halacha, there's no question. Elamaisa asir seifa min beisei. Maybe I would think he has to buy an asir seifa from his own money. And these monies should fall in a dava. That's why the Torah says mechatasa again to say the mehegdish the oif nami ma'isa asir seifa, that you could you could take that money from the bird and use it for asir seifa. If he designated for asir seifa, he's really poor, and he designated flour, and then he became rich. He could add to that money and buy a bird. Hesher, if he became even wealthier, now, why do I need the final third one? Because of if it just said it by a bird and then it became wealthy, okay, because they're similar to if he was very poor and he set aside flour, perhaps you cannot go from the lowest one higher up. Because of Kro, the Midrash Ketamrinon, to say these drushes that we said before, basically, we could stick in also another drush that could go 2 steps from the bottom all the way to the top, from the top all the way to the bottom. The point is that you have also from damim to flour and from flour to damim. Because they seem different. They're different types of korbanos, and maybe you can't go from a flour carbon to a blood carbon. Right now you're in a flour category, it's a different type of category. Yeah, but
Money was put aside,
right.
so why could you change? Why could you change your designation that you?
Why can't you?
Yeah, why can you? Why can't you?
I would think you can't, because it's completely different. In your
Why
mind,
should you be able to? You're not. It's not like you better
right,
use the
time
money
out.
yourself.
You
right?
understand that if you designate something for a chatas, you can't change it to ha'ila?
I get that concept.
Okay,
yeah.
so I designated for flour, I can't change it to something that has
Why?
blood. It's a completely different animal.
So if you designate for an animal, why should you be able to change to something lower? The money's there already. It's not
Because
like-
I have psukim. Once I have psukim, then I can do it all, from all directions. You have somebody that walked into the Beis Hamikdash when he was tamei. What kind of carbon does he have to bring, Rabbi say? Oil of the Yored. But he's rich, and since he's wealthy, he has to bring the top of the line. He has to bring an animal. So he set aside, what did he do? Cane. What's a cane? 2 birds, a pair of birds. This guy doesn't know halachas. He decided he's going to bring birds. Now, Hashem showed him, oh, you want to act like a poor person? Veheni. He lost all his money. Can he use these birds or not? Assuming that we hold that you cannot go, a wealthy person cannot go with a bird. It's not his carbon, and he brought the wrong carbon. So right now, it's rejected. It's nitcha. And now, a day later, he became poor, he lost all his money. Now he wants to use it, but it's too late, because it became dachui. V'nitcha, hoyo v'nitcha, since it became rejected, yidacha. It's rejected forever. And we learned this yesterday, and we learned this many times. You see that a living being, like a bird, can be pushed off forever. And the fact is that because he was wealthy and he designated it as a carbon, it couldn't grab onto Kedushas Agov because he was wealthy. It wasn't a good carbon. It wasn't a good hegdish. It was only Kedushas Damim. And nevertheless, it's pushed off forever. And something that never had a chance to grab onto Kedusha, such in this case, because he was wealthy at the time, so he never had a moment where it could have been Kadosh. It's also Tchiyah, and all these things are machlaikisim, but you see that he holds that these three things work. And he also holds, obviously, that a wealthy person cannot bring a bird, because if a wealthy person can bring a bird, then the whole story wouldn't start there, then it wouldn't be Dachui.
So what does it do with those original birds that he can't bring as a culture?
They just shech them as Nedavas. First of all, yeah, I think they're just. First of all, what happened? Did they have names or they don't have names? It's sasam or not sasam? Because a lot of times if it's sasam, we don't know, so you just bring it as a oila. Just put it on the mizbech. If he said specifically this is a chatas, it might be a problem.
He wasn't allowed to be mafresh. So why are they going to do that?
Good point. He wasn't allowed to be mafresh, so it probably wasn't chal as a chatas, because anyways he wasn't chal. Oilas. That's my guess. Similar case. A guy made a mistake. He didn't realize, or maybe he didn't look well. He didn't see that the sheep that he's holding is actually in a keva, and a carbon pesach has to be a zachar. So, what is this called? Dachui. So, what happens when it's dachui? Tirach is the stoy, v'timocha v'yavi. Hamafresh nekeva pischoi kodim pesach. Tirach is the stoy, v'timocha v'yavi the pesach. You sell it, you let it graze, you sell it, and you buy another carbon pesach. However, here's the case. Yalda Zachar, what if the mother, the female, gave birth to a Zachar? Zachar you could use. But she herself is Dachui. Yire achi stoib, b'yamachav yavi b'damav Pesach. It's too bad. She is Dachui, Dachui is Dachui, it's rejected, and you cannot have something good come out of a rejection. So you can't. Reb Shimon Oimer, hu atzma yukrav Pesach, shma mino, balechayim, ein nitchim. If Reb Shimon holds that I could use the offspring as a carbon pesach, you see that he holds that it's not rejected. Amri the Bey Rebbe Shaya, ki Amri what?
So it's not a part of. He holds it's not part of the mother then.
No, he holds that it's not dachui. It's not dachui. Amri the Bey Rebbe Shaya, ki Amri the Rabbanon the Rebbe Shimon Svirlei Bali Chaim. So what's the question? The question is, according to Rebbe Shimon, you see that Bal Chaim are not nidcha. Okay, so maybe we don't hold like Rebbe Shimon. Maybe we'll have the Tanakama. The Sanyo may sechel maybe chaver shloi ba'agrola. Reb Shimon, Reb Shimon. If you have the two goats on Yom Kippur, one of them goes la'azazel, you throw it off the cliff. The other one is a chatos, you shecht. One of them dies. So rather than restarting the whole process and bringing another two and doing a lottery again, thank you. You could just use one of them and bring in another one. So let's say the one that's Lazazel died before you threw it off the cliff. Before it fell off the cliff, it died natural. He saw the cliff and he died. So you bring another one. You don't bring another pair. And according to Reb Shimon, you bring another one, and you don't have to do the lottery. You just say, okay, this guy is going to be the one I throw off the cliff. So we see halacha that Reb Shimon says you don't need a girl, but also you see halacha that it's enoi, that it's not nidcha. Divrei Reb Shimon, Amakasava Balichaim ena nidchin, v'agrola ena ma'keves. Fine. So we're not going according to Reb Shimon. Don't ask me a kasha for Reb Shimon. We're going according to Tanakama that holds Balichaim nidchin, and therefore he holds nidcha and all these things. Omer Rav Chisda. Ein hakinim mispar shois. Right, so again, we're going back to a person that brings the oil of the Yored. A Mitzayra. Or like the case that we're talking about. A guy goes into the Beis HaMikdash, Betuma, he has to bring the oil of the Yored. A variable carbon, depending on how wealthy he is. So he's an in-between kind of guy. He's a blue collar, what do they call him? The
Middle class.
Middle class, thank you. Middle class. He's not wealthy, he's not poor, he brings birds. Now, one bird is a chatos, one bird is a oila. Who decides which one is the chatos, which one is the oila? Well, says Rav Chizda, he could decide when he purchases it. At the time of purchase, the minute he purchases it, at that moment, he could say the guy on the right is a oila, the guy on the left is a chatos. Then, when you bring it to the Beis HaMikdash and the kohen is about to do melika, I want that one to chatos. Then it works. What happens when he does that? You can't switch. It's too late. You can't take a chatos, make it an oila. But what happens if he bought it on Sunday and he only went to the Beis HaMikdash the following week? And on Tuesday he wants to change his mind. He can't do it. Or he can't, forget that, change his mind. What if he bought it sasum? He didn't designate anything. He put 2 birds in a box, brought them home. A day, when he got home, he says, oh, this guy looks like a good oila, so I want it as oila. You can't do that. Only at the time of purchase, or by the avodah. That's it. My time is Rav Chizda. The Kohen decides. He decides. My time is Rav Chizda. Where did you get this from? The Chsiv. When you purchase it, or when the Kohen does the avodah. We have questions here. Going back to the sar, the sar lazazel, before you throw it off the cliff. Who decides which one of the 2 goats falls off the cliff? The lottery, and that's it. You can't. It's not shame. It's not calling it a name, and it's not the kohen. Perhaps you have a kavachomer from any bird, karba. When you cannot do a goyrel, right? When you buy 2 birds, you're tummy mikdash v'kedashav. It's not going to help you if you do a goyrel on a Tuesday afternoon. You have to name it when you buy it. So goyrel doesn't help. Makom shikadosh goyrel, and it didn't shikadosh Hashem. By Sarah Lazazel, goyrel works all of a sudden. You have a new concept called goyrel. So certainly the simple naming that you have by a bird will work. So Mela, Ktani Shem, Dumi the goyrel, Ma goyrel lav belekicha velav ba'asiya, Af Hashem, Nami lav belekicha velav ba'asiya.
When? So when? Yeah.
What do you mean when?
When would you do the? When would it have effect?
No, so just like goyrel is in the middle of nowhere, what? We're comparing goyrel to naming. From over here, it seems like Rav Chizda is off. Rav Chizda says you can only name it when you buy it. But when do you do goyrel? Not when you buy it. You do goyrel stam in the middle of its life. Not when you purchase it, and not when you throw it off the cliff. Somewhere in between. And we're comparing goyrel to naming. And you want to say that just like you do a goyrel, you should be able to name it. When? So Rav Chizda, he's wrong. You don't name it only when you buy it. You can name it also in the middle of the day, because otherwise this whole thing, from the comparison to goyrel, you see that it's not at a specific. Right, but from the Gemara's kasha, they're comparing the goyrel to the naming at a certain time. But what time?
It's a technical why it's not the same. You see they're comparable.
Lu Yitzuyur, the Gemara's kavachomer is right. You could do a kavachomer and you could name a sar la'azazel. When would you name it? You name it at the same time that you do a goyrel. Instead of doing the goyrel on Yom Kippur, you just name it on Yom Kippur. But Yom Kippur is not when you purchased it. You purchased the Beis HaMikdash purchased it 3 days before Yom Kippur, let's say. You just see that naming is not dependent on purchasing. Omar Rav Hachik Omar. So we just changed the kavachomer a little bit. You just stick in that word. Just like in a place that there's no goyrel when you buy it. So if you could do a goyrel, so certainly you should be able to be Kaddish Hashem when you buy it. You're right, it's when you buy it. So here's the cartoon. Took a long time to make because I didn't make it. There's 5 steps here. Yaakov, cartoon. Step number 1, this guy walks into the Beis Hamikdash. Step number 2, he puts aside 2 slime for his birds. Okay, because he's a poor person. You can see he's wearing gray. He's poor. So he sets aside. He doesn't say what they are. He sets it aside. Fine. Step number 3. Hey, you never know. He became rich. He has gold. He's wearing different clothes. He has a tie already. It's chashiv. Step number 4. He's still in his mindset of a poor person. He's making a big mistake here. He thinks that because he's poor, he still brings birds. He doesn't realize that a rich person has to bring. He never heard of it. He never seen anybody go to buy a sheep. He never bought a sheep in his life. So he says to himself in his brain, after he's rich, he says, this money goes for my chatos, and this money goes for my oila. So he kind of ruined it. Now, when did he say that this money becomes a chatos and this money becomes a oila? After he became rich. It's not when he purchased the birds. It's not when he set aside the money. He set aside the money in step number 2. So how can he do that? So and then it says that he takes part of the money, the chatas money, and he buys a behemoth with it. Only the chatas money. So let's see inside.
Only the chatas
Meisvei.
from the bird.
What?
The bird, the chatas money from the bird.
Right.
Not from the
Meisvei. Mitama migdash ani shefish mois lekinoi. A guy that walked in the Beis Hamikdash Tomei. So he set aside money for his birds because he's poor. The hashir, and now he has to bring a sheep. And afterwards, in step 4, he says to himself, I want this money to be a chatas and this money to be a oila. The money designated for a chatas can in fact be used for his animal, sheep, which is a chatas, so it fits in. He cannot use the money from the oila. And over here, there's no purchasing, he just became rich. In other words, the designation worked, even though it's nishtahin nishtaher, omerav sheishes, the whole price is off. Once the price is off, I can fix it any way I want. How in the world could this guy who's rich, who's wealthy, designate a bird? We learned that a wealthy person cannot designate a bird. So Elamai, how did he designate this bird? He designated the bird before step 3. It has to be that we're off on the steps. So if he already designated the bird between step 2 and 3, so just say that he was that he did it when he bought it. That this all happened in step 2. So Mela, once you're fixing it, fix it completely, that he said that it should be oil and a chatas as he bought it. According to Reb Chaga, it's perfectly well, it's perfectly okay for a rich person, for a wealthy person, to designate birds. So Mamela, this price is not off. So Mamela, step 4 is where it's supposed to be. He designated the birds when he was wealthy. So you see that he could designate even not at the time of purchase. Tani, you could, says the Gemara, you could fix it a little bit. It's not a big deal to say like Rebbe Elazar Mamish to redo the whole brisa and say that step 4 comes before step 3. That's a big fix. But to stick in one word is not a big deal. Say, va'achagach lokach v'amar. Later on, what happened was, he purchased the bird. First he set aside money, and then he actually physically bought the bird. And when he bought the bird, that's when he decided he's going to make one a chatas and one a oila. Or actually he only bought one bird. So now it says on the side here, it might be kedai to look in the side. I know it's adding a lot to this Gemara, but it's kedai. By me it's ois ches, and Agos v'tziyunim. It says, kan chaser keta godel Gemara. V'nimtza b'shitim k'mez v'giz yad Gemara. It says like this. Ktani moisim mevi chevasim in mei chatasoi. What's the case? The Omar Teicha Kedushas Chadas Ha'oif Ilavei Mois V'Chadas Ha'oif Nafke L'Chulin U'Moisev Min Beisei Mois Achrinei B'Zov and Chadas Behema. Let's go to, hold on. Should I just tell you about what it says here? Okay, you don't even have it. Basically, it says like this. There are it's two cases, says the Gemara. One case is that he bought a bird oila. One oila. So if he bought one oila, then he has money left over for chatos. And that money he could purchase his behema with, because it's chatos designated money, so I go from chatos oif to chatos behema, that's not a problem. The other case is that he bought a bird chatos. Now he's up the creek. Because the money that is left over is oila money. He can't do anything with it. So that goes to Nadava, the chatas gets shechted, and he has to bring a completely new animal from his own money. And that's what the Gemara, that's what the Brisa was saying. That's the case of the Brisa, that he can...
We got a few tweets for the people that are not going to get.
Oh, we have to announce. Tonight, our big chaver Noam, the Magid Shir, is making a bar mitzvah based tefillah at 9:30.
9:30.
No, 7:30 is the bar mitzvah, 9:30 will be the siyum.
9:30 is the siyum on Kereisos. But be there at 7:30 if you want to get a seat, and wait around for 2 hours for the siyum.
And we have tweets for...
The other big announcement is that today we were supposed to, I don't know if it's going to happen, but maybe it will happen together with tomorrow's beginning of a new Masechta. We are starting, Be'ez Hashem, the building of the new Merkaz Daf Yomi. It's a big simcha. It's Be'ez Hashem will happen, and it might even be up and standing before Rosh Hashanah. So we'll see. We're supposed to start standing, not usable, but up the structure. So our new home. We're starting the new Masechtas Meila tomorrow, Be'ez Hashem, if we could turn the page.
It's going to his electric printer as we speak.
It's 3D printed. It's the same quality, even less. Kereisos. All right, we got to go. Rabbi, we only have 10 minutes, and we want to finish the Masechta. We don't want to bring our Gemaras tomorrow, our Kereisos and Mila Gemaras. Let's go. Meisvei, whatever we don't finish, Yossi will finish tonight. It's not a problem. Meisvei, Mitzayra Ani Shehevi Karban Osher Yotza. It says Mefurish. This would be like a no-brainer, we would think, that if a person is poor and he decided to be large and buy a carbon, yotza, he could upgrade. Asher shevi carbon ani, but if he's wealthy and he brings flour, let's say lo yotza, tufta de Rav Chaga and Rav Yoshia, this would be a kasher Rav Chaga who says that a wealthy person can bring a poor person's carbon. Omalach. Shani Gabi Mitzayra. Yes, you're right by Mitzayra, it's a one-time thing. The Mid Rachman is Zois. If the Torah says Zois, it has to be exact, then perhaps a poor Mitzayra should not be able to switch around this carbon and bring a wealthy man's carbon. Lai, you're right, it should be like that. But what should we do when the Torah says Mefurish Torahs? Now Rashi just points out that how do I know that maybe it's the opposite? Maybe a wealthy person could bring a poor person's carbon, but a poor person cannot bring a wealthy person's carbon. How do I know? Malim HaKodesh ve'meridin. You go upwards, not downwards. For Tanya, and this is a raya, not a kasha, Toiras l'Rabbis Mitzayra Ani Shevi Carbon Oshi Yotza. A poor person who brings a rich person's carbon is good. Now I think the reverse is also okay. Why can I learn Talmid Mikdash V'Kadoshav from a Mitzayra? On my krav and dal who then Yodim Esegis who Mitzayra who Dasher Shevi Karbonani. The word who is to be mimayit only a Mitzayra. Who the Yatza Talmid Mikdash Asher Shevi Karbonani Yatza. And as the Gemara always does, we had a very, very tough Masechta. Rabbi, I thank you for sticking with us. Kereisos was one of the most difficult Masechtas we had in terms of giving shir, especially because of all the words and very long dapim. But now the Gemara finishes off with Agadita to make you think that the whole Masechta was Reb Shimon Omer. Kvasim kodim misoyizim b'chol makom. You should know in the Torah it always mentions sheep before goats. Maybe you think it's actually mufchar, as Menachem pointed out. Maybe over here it doesn't really mean that it tastes better, although from the Gemara it seems like perhaps that's what it's meaning. But it's mufchar. What is a better, more? One is not better than the other. I would think that turtle doves come before pigeons because that's how the Torah writes it. What?
How do you see it from Keves? When Keves every Korban al-Chatos? Why is that show that they're equal?
Because it says both of them.
Oh, it says both?
Yeah. By the way, when I was in Africa, I saw turtle doves and I realized, this is what we bring to the Beis HaMikdash. It's not these maybe these ugly guys that we don't like so much. There's some beautiful ones with blue heads and the whole thing. The Torah always says, Kibud Av V'Eim, the father comes first. You think perhaps that if a son doesn't know who to respect, he should respect his father first. Over here it says the mother first. They're both equal. Really, if you have a question, like the father says, give me a glass of water, and this is brought down in la, and the mother says the same thing. The mother also has to bring him a cup of water. So, however, in a situation where the mother doesn't have to respect the father, then the son doesn't have to respect. For instance, if they are divorced, then the son has to respect the mother the same way he respects his father. Or in a case where she's not mechuyev to respect her husband because of mezainis or whatever it is, that only in certain cases she has to, in other cases not. So then the son has to decide by himself.
So a husband doesn't have to respect his wife?
No, so that's what I said. She's mechuyev to respect him because of mezainis. We're not talking about real respect.
That's not the answer you wanted.
No, a husband has to respect his wife more. It says. But we're talking about in halachas in terms of I give you support, so you give me that. And memela, okay. It says the Gemara if a person was zocheh to learn most of his Torah from his Rebbe, harav koydem esav b'chomakoyim v'nei shuva v'chayom v'chvoid rabbi. A person is mechuyev to respect Talmidei Chachamim, and if it's his son's Rebbe, then the son has to respect his Rebbe before his own father. And the other Gemara in Bab Mitzi, it says different, that a Rebbe brings you to Chai Olam Haba, and he brings you only to Olam Hazeh. Torah Rabbana. Arba tzvachis tzavcha azara. The azara scream out 4 times. Tzvacha rishayna, hoitziu mikan, take out of here, bnei Eli, Chafni u'Pinchas. Get rid of Chafni u'Pinchas. Shetimu sa'heichal. It says shachvus hanashim, whatever the lashon over there is. So the Gemara explains, whoever says that the Rechaita is Toya, they didn't really were over with the women, but they prevented them from going home to be with their husbands, so the Torah considered it as if they were with them, and get them out of here. Bring him in here. For dessert, he would have 40 saw of wings of young birds. What does that mean? That he had so many guests that he had that much food. There's no leftover of kachim. He always had a lot of kohanim sitting by his table.
They didn't like that?
No, it's good. This was a shvach. Some say this is Yochanan Kohen Gadol. They didn't want to call him by his name. Unbelievable story. What would he do? This is bad. He would be mechabed himself. What did he do so wrong? Nowadays he would put on rubber gloves and work with the kachim instead of getting his hands dirty. He basically showed that the blood of the karban is it's not proper for his hands to touch it. So he put silk on his hands. For that, he will punishment. What happened to him at the end? Yanai Malko Malkos Avi Yasmin, the king and the queen were sitting. Yanai Malko Omar Gad Yoyoy. A typical fight between a husband and wife. She says, goats are better, they taste better. That's what the king said. No, lamb chops are better. Amrun Nishayli Yisachar, who better could we ask than the Kohen Gadol himself, who deals with goats and sheep all day long? He has all this meat. Nishayli Yisachar Ish Kvar Bar Koi, the Kohen Gadol who v'Kinlei, and he understands Kinlei Dera. Shailu, they asked him, Amar Luhu Igadi Yoi. What kind of question is that? If goat is better, Yisalik Tmida, you should bring it every day as the Tamid. Bahadid Amar Ach v'Biyadeh. He went like this to them. He went with his hand to the king, and you don't do that to the king. It's a big no-no. Amar Loi Malka Hoyav Ach v'Biyadeh. Since he did a not nice gesture with his hand, Kutzli Yadid Mina. Chop off his right hand. Now he's a Kohen Gadol and he has a big problem. He needs his right hand for all the avodas.
Get the right hand.
Yeah, okay,
Left
fine.
hand, any hand.
Correct. But I saw that's what they say. I don't know why. Maybe I read it wrong. So he bribed the hand cutter guy. He says, "Here, take $100, but cut off my left hand, so I have my right hand. I'm a righty." Whatever the reason is. Shama Malka Omar Likatsu Namili Yodidimina. Since the king heard what he tried to do over there, so they cut off both his hands. Rav Yosef, Birich Rachmana, it's an unbelievable lashon. He gave a bracha on this. The Shakli li Yisachar Ishkvar Bar Koi Limit Harfisei, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu paid him in this world, so he has the world to come. If you see the Ben Yehoyada, he says Rav Yosef wasn't so mean. He says li Yisachar means Yesh Sachar. You can break up the word Yesh Yisachar. Yesh Sachar. Ishkvar means a kapara. Bar Koi Bar Kroi. That it happened all like you think like randomly his hands got cut off, but no, it was deliberate. Omer Rav Ashi, and he didn't know this, the famous halacha, this nan, kfasim koydin liizim b'chol makim, our Mishnah in the Torah they mentioned first. You think because they taste better or they are better. He didn't know Mefurush Mishnah. Ravino Hamar afilu mikro nami lo yikara. You didn't even know a pasuk. D'chsiv im keves im eis. We'll leave this part for tonight. I just want to point out, because maybe the one that's Messiah is not going to say it. There's 4 times in Shas that finish with this exact Gemara. And the siman is the word Banoyach. Brachas, Nazir, Yivamis, and Kereisos. Mazel Tov. It's a beautiful Simcha. Be'ezer Hashem, we will be starting today the building. How many? 4.